So
Are you recording? Okay.
there we go.
Recording in progress.
All right. It's 7 o'clock on Wednesday, November 12th. I'm going to call the select board meeting to order. First order of the business is approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any additions or deletions? I know there's a executive session in the end. So,
No more executive
It
session.
wasn't. It's not needed for tonight.
No more.
no?
I know. Not needed tonight.
Not needed.
We were hoping
Okay,
that,
it's in the packet though.
go ahead.
In case we needed it.
Okay. So it's
Oh, in case. I know.
good. And next up is approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody wants to discuss anything, bring anything out of the?
Or Fred, were you gonna bring the 2 items out?
No, let me clarify. First of all, on the minutes, I would just comment that the Development Review Board's minutes that are included are just reflect an excellent process
Yes.
and good minutes. The only other thing I would comment on is that the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting of October 27th, which relates to the traffic calming tonight, I kind of wish had been in the packet to you so that you could see the benefits of that discussion. Also, the Infrastructure Committee minutes, for whatever reason, because of the odd scheduling of the Infrastructure Committee with the Select Board, haven't been included in our packets for acceptance as these other ones, not since September. And with respect to the vehicle trade, the Bolt, the Infrastructure Committee's had 3 meetings on that. And it's been a challenge, and not that the board should be subjected to all of the back and forth on that Dan and I experienced, but I think the minutes are useful to inform the board, and that's the purpose of our subcommittees, and I'd just like to see the more attention to having those put in. On the item 3E, I learned today, and Dan, I emailed you during the day today about this, that my first questions about the trade-in of the Chevy Bolt were addressed. I met with Mark Prohensky this afternoon in advance of the meetings tonight. We had a charter committee meeting on this, and he gave me more information about this. And my only question on it: what is the amount that we're getting for a trade-in on that?
We haven't heard back yet from the dealership, so I just wrote TBD on there, but I will share that information with you as soon as we get it.
Presumably it'll be a value that is sufficiently in excess of what we think we could get by just auctioning it. Sometimes dealer trade-ins are pretty low, but obviously the value of that we want to have come back into the equipment fund. But the Chevy Bolt has turned out not to work out for the needs of the town in terms of reliability, and so it makes sense to trade it in. So I support.
Do we need to pull this out? So you want to have a discussion, or are we okay?
I don't anymore.
Okay.
I thought about it earlier. Dan, there is an explanation regarding the other issue you wanted on the police purchase, which we could talk about if you want, or really Mark is the best one to explain that.
I'm good with the police purchase.
Okay. Then I'm good. Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So it's approved with 2 absent, right? Next up is citizens' comments. Anybody who has any comment or question that is not on the agenda, we have a house full. All right. Next up is the proposed town policy, traffic calming. David?
Sure. So this was an assignment from the Select Board to the Public Health and Safety Committee in late August 23rd. It was reviewed, a draft that was put together initially by staff, reviewed by Public Works, Police, the manager's office, was presented to the committee on the 27th of October. 3 relatively small edits were suggested and adopted and included in this draft. And the spirit of this is essentially the town has often received these kind of requests from the public that are well intended, and there are issues concerning safety in some public rights of way. What we tried to put together here and present is basically a 3-step procedure to allow people like Dave DiBiase and Emily and the police chief and the fire chief to give input before we have a debate about the design. There can be funding limitations, there may be best practices that they can provide input on, and they would give a decision back. It may include capital, it may include public education, it may include signage. This is similar to examples from other Vermont towns. We took a look at Winooski, Richmond, Burlington, Bennington, Essex Junction. And so it's a simplified version of theirs. Theirs were admittedly much longer. It's about 1.5 pages. But that would be the gist. When a request comes in, it may come in to you guys. It may come in to anybody, really. It would be submitted over to the manager's office. We would then send it out to those relevant folks and get their professional input, and circle back we'd give an update to the board and circle back to the constituents with an answer. So it simply creates a process to thoughtfully review.
In relation to the citizens who had the request about help, not from the Health and Safety Committee.
No, they were assigned the policy discussion, not an actual street question. Correct.
And we have the concern from the North Street folks just parked for now until this policy is approved. And then we'll take it up at that point.
Can you walk through how this policy might look in practice, specifically with the levels of response? Would you say this street requires or would be deemed this level?
Yeah, the level concept was just mirroring what some other towns had done, I think, to kind of illustrate the levels of action, right? Because not if you jump right to the most serious action, you're kind of shooting all your arrows. There may be opportunities where signage or public education could tackle the issue before you do permanent, more expensive capital projects. So the way it would work if this were adopted tonight is, let's say next week the constituents on ABC Street come in and say people are speeding, or I feel unsafe, or a bicyclist was almost hit, or something to that effect. We would get that information from them. We would acknowledge the receipt of it. We would then share those facts with the departments I mentioned. They will try to utilize the data they have available, so they can do speed studies. They can do volume studies. They have the equipment for that. We can pull information relating to past accidents. Dave and Emily can take a look at the design of the street to see whether there's examples of things that could be done physically to improve the streetscape. And then they would provide all their input back, and as a group, we would try to make a decision based on their professional input. And the levels, I think, is a way to take a step, and then if it doesn't work, take another step, a more serious step. Because I think we're also, to be honest, triaging your budget. We have limited funding, we have limited capital funds for this, so if there's instances where signage or public education can do the trick, that might be a good first step.
And would that be education, like that?
Yeah, I think the spirit of the levels is that education doesn't cost as much as a full-time engineered capital or a full permanent capital project. So, and there may be instances where Dave and Emily and Jason respond and say, no, we do need a variety of permanent fixtures. That becomes a funding question, which is one of the reasons we also would like to get Dave and Emily's input on these things, because we have the funding we have. So.
Would there still be able to come to the select board as well, or would they just come to you?
I mean, the policy encourages them to submit it to the manager's office, but I do recognize that somebody may come to this meeting. I don't
And the
suspect.
citizens comment. they
Yeah, I
might
mean,
come
I don't think the spirit of this is to shout them down or stop them from speaking. But so yes, anybody can come and speak.
Megan, I think's got her hand up.
Megan?
Thanks. Hi. I've got two questions. One of them is there like, and apologies if this is addressed in the policy and I missed it, but is there like a, do you need to have involvement? Can just one person make a complaint, or does it need to
that's
be a certain number
threshold,
of
yeah.
people?
There was a discussion about that at the committee. I think an earlier draft had referenced some sort of petition number, but I think the spirit of it was neighborhoods are a subjective term, and an issue could certainly be relevant if just one person brings it up, and it could be irrelevant if 20 people bring it up. The facts may not back up a concern. The way we wrote it was that a petition is a persuasive tool, but I do think the spirit of this is designed to take into account data and professional advice, and not just how many people want it. I think because there is a bit of, it is helpful to put a bit of distance between, I think, the emotion of the moment and the due diligence of the police chief and our director of engineering. So it's certainly helpful to have and as part of the submittal.
Okay, thanks. My second question is there sort of a timeline on, is there a timeline at which the town manager's office needs to get back to the person who filed the complaint so that it doesn't get shuffled away forever and pushed off and pushed off?
That's another very good question. I think Wendy brought that up at the committee meeting. What we wrote in section 4 was that outcomes of the request would be reported to the select board on a regular basis, including the status update of any outstanding requests. So in the event that there was further work or thought being done, or we just haven't gotten a consensus answer from our department heads, we would still be required to tell you we're working on it. I don't think folks are going to drag their feet, but there may, for example, maybe there's a project that Emily and Dave feel that capital investment is needed, but first we have to go apply for a grant. That can sometimes take a while, and I appreciate that sometimes it's not as quick as folks want, but if we're waiting for the answer on a grant, we may not have an answer on the project yet. So I think the spirit of that line in the policy is that we're obligated to give regular updates. I don't think this is going to be a list of 50, 60 things. I think we get 4 or 5 of these a year.
Yeah, that's about what I've seen so far. So.
But yes, we will need to come back and tell folks what's going on.
Great, thank you so much.
I want to vote to support the adoption of this, but I want to make some comments about it along the way for context. During my career with the town, traffic calming was a request many, many times, and we did designs for it on South Street and so forth, which didn't get implemented at the time, but are going to be ultimately. And that's one comment, is that we have a couple of projects that are already in design for this. South Street and the whole Rogers Road, Butoff neighborhood. Those are not going to be delayed by this. That engineering and work is in process, and I just want to, because Wendy Warren and others from the Rogers Road neighborhood, Butoff Acres neighborhood, came into the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting and noted that they've been asking for this for a very long time, years, and so I want to reassure that that the process, and thanks to Emily for the grant work that she has been able to do to get the funding to make that move forward. We're not delaying things. The second comment I want to make is this makes reference to the manual on uniform traffic control devices, and actually that is a document. It's a massive document. It's 1,100 and some pages. It is it specifies signs and markings on highways for a national standard. And if you actually go through the document and do a search on traffic calming, you'll find it's almost not mentioned at all in that. It will tell you how to mark a speed bump or a sign, that there's a speed bump ahead. But that's not the manual for traffic calming. There's another manual that the Federal Highway Administration puts out. Anybody can Google on traffic calming and you get these modules. And this is a much better document. It has photographs of examples, but the fundamental thing about traffic calming is it's about street design. It's not about just slapping a marking or a sign up there. And the other major feature of it is it relies on physical changes that are self-enforcing. Speed tables or neck downs or things that, and the issue with signs is there's always the worry that if you put signs too frequently or that aren't warranted, that it becomes a police burden functionally to issue it. Fortunately, most people are law-abiding and do respect traffic signs, even if they don't precisely follow the manual and uniform traffic control devices and the requirement for a professional traffic engineer to approve those things. I can cite a number of things that the town has done over the years that may or may not qualify, strictly speaking, under the manual and uniform traffic control devices, but that the town has accepted and they work. And one of them is the stop sign on Butt-Off Drive at Meadow Way, which was debated as to whether it would qualify or not. The town went ahead finally and did it, and it's respected and it works. And as Emily said during the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting, people who request signs as a simplistic kind of solution need to be advised that mere signage isn't really the best option, certainly if it's ignored as a policing burden. But if the warrants are met, a stop sign can be part of a traffic calming solution for a street system, as it has been in Butt-Off Acres. So with that in mind, I would just say that the second sentence in 2A I think is inappropriate and should be deleted.
3A.
It says, the 2A in its entirety says requests should relate to concerns about possible speeding, traffic, and safety issues. It is not to be utilized for requests relating to new stop signs, which are subject to state regulations. Actually, state regulations are not applicable except on state highways. The town has jurisdiction over town highways by our charter and by statute, and the town can actually and has placed stop signs without state oversight or control. We have an ordinance on signs that covers that. The second sentence is, and 2B, by the way, is answers this anyways. The town shall implement best practices and will be informed by the Federal Highway Administration design standards, the Vermont Agency of Transportation, interpreted by engineers. I say I would rather rely upon the experts that we have, the Chief of Police, Director of Engineering, Director of Operations. Hiring a professional traffic engineer for every sign has not been done in our history. I would defy anybody to show us a professional traffic evaluation meeting traffic warrants for every stop sign and speed limit in town. Hasn't happened. Common sense is useful here. And the manual and uniform traffic control devices, unfortunately, is something that is used in court cases when there's accidents with professional people who are expert witnesses and lawyers argue over. And it's referenced here and given greater weight in the definitions and so forth than I think is warranted. But I would like to move to adopt this with 3 changes. The first one being deleting the second sentence in 2A that I just mentioned. The second one being in 4A, the requirement of a petition by at least a certain number of signatures. I am I don't think we should drive people to go out and get petition drives over this. I think we should simply say, any letters of support from neighbors should be included. And
I think we may have tackled this.
Yes.
And I apologize if I don't know which version you're looking at.
the one that's posted on our packet.
I think it's an older version.
Yeah, it's an older version.
You're looking at
Oh,
4A, right?
this is the one that's up here. But I think the good news is your issues are understandable, and I think the committee suggested changing them already, so we may have tackled it.
This wasn't the right version wasn't put in our packet?
We've gone through quite a few versions, but so this is the version up on the website. But in 2A, the committee was comfortable with changing the language to calming measures have to be compliant with applicable regulations, which leaves the opportunity for stop signs to be used as opposed to a blanket ban on stop signs. I think that was in 4A, rather than a threshold of signatures and petitions. I think the sentiment from the board, similar to what Megan mentioned earlier, is that it can be persuasive, but ultimately one person may be right, even if it's just one person. So we suggested perhaps accepting petitions, but not having them be like a threshold, because we don't.
Okay, so this has been changed from what was first posted.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry, I apologize.
That's okay, because the things you're raising were exactly what the committee raised, and they agreed with you, so you were right with them. So I think both those were amended to not be as rigid, either the petition signatures nor the stop sign thing. I think the stop sign sentiment came from, obviously, police chief's brought up a few times that we have to have stop signs that are warranted. So I think this is the language that we have in there. Calming measures should be considered, must be compliant with applicable regulations, is designed to keep us on the right side of the law without being unduly rigid. So,
Okay.
yep.
I just want to say that the sentence that, all of our regulations are subject to state regulations. The town has a charter, and in the charter, we have, among our powers is to establish regulations for vehicles on public and private streets. And the town, in state law generally says the town shouldn't have a speed limit lower than 25. Well, we actually have utilized our authority granted by the state as legislation through our charter to have a lower speed limit in some instances. One of them is on Mary Hogan Drive. And there may be cases where some of the things that are requested don't always have to slavishly follow what state highway officials have thought was appropriate statewide in village conditions.
Are you looking at 2A?
I think he's referencing 2C, right, Fred, at the end? The last phrase in
mention of the
2C.
state regulations here at all.
Well, 2C is an important part of this. And that's for the benefit of people listening. That nothing in this policy is meant to diminish or interfere with the select board's authority and responsibilities under law to control town highways. This was what you said, is the select board involved? Yes, the select board can be involved.
Correct.
And needs to be for things that are ordinance enforced, like speed limits and stop signs. Anyway, I want to move to adopt the traffic calming request policy with the amendments that.
You guys are clear? Done.
What?
Would you be amending this one?
That was this is the one we're looking at.
This is
This is
Yeah.
the one.
The
up
one
here,
that's
south
linked
screen
in our
we can go
packet.
for.
The original one
Yep.
that came from the Public Health and Safety Committee is apparently what I'm.
That's okay. I think.
I'm sorry.
I think that's okay. The recommendations he's made, ironically,
So
were
right
now
were
we're
reflected in the
acting
changes
So
in front of you.
this is
Yeah.
the one we're
This
voting
is,
on.
we're voting
Fred.
on this one here, so there doesn't need any changes to this one.
This one is all.
Right.
What
So-
you're talking about, Fred.
What is the? I just want one further question. Could you show me 4C?
Sure.
4C, yeah.
Right there.
This one,
So this was the language it was different before. We changed
I
it
have-
because
Okay,
Wendy's
thanks, that's
concern,
changed.
Yeah,
Thank
Wendy's
you.
concern was
Okay.
So we don't need to change anything.
Yeah.
So,
I'd move to adopt it
okay.
in its
Second.
latest form.
Yep.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Megan? She's for them.
I
You
think
froze, Megan. That counts as a yes? Is that?
Stop. No.
Frozen with her thumb up?
There we go.
There it is. All right.
It looked like a thumb.
Any opposed? None. So motion passed. All right. So David Allen, please come on. So as an added feature to the regular select board meetings this year has been the periodic discussions with the town boards, committees, commission chairs to the select board. This effort is intended to facilitate better communication between the committees and the select board, allow the select board members to learn more about the committee's activities. So with this, I'll give you the mic.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is David Allen. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. So I have a quick sort of set of bullet points of what we've been working on over the last 6 months or so. So the Planning Commission asked us to look at the draft of the natural resources section of the town plan for the town plan update. So we sort of made some edits to that and sent it along, and then over the summer we sent some representatives to their meeting, and we had a little bit of back and forth with the Planning Commission. And I think since then some of what we've worked on has changed with the new town planner and sort of how they've been working on it, but we've been trying to stay involved with the town plan update process where we find it's relevant. We've been thinking about water issues, and so thinking about both stormwater management, and so been working with the Addison County River Watch Collaborative and doing some activities with them, and co-sponsored a forum on sort of like rain gardens, stormwater management, and also thinking about salt runoff, and so salt use, and then how it affects aquatic communities and streams and rivers. We're thinking about having a monthly seminar series on conservation issues, which Salisbury does, and it's turned out to be really popular. And so we're in the planning stages for that, and hope to do something starting in January, a monthly session on conservation issues. And then there's been some interest in the Conservation Commission around the Conservation Fund for land acquisition, and Fred helpfully came and chatted with us about some of the history of that conservation fund, and sort of a way that might work well for the Conservation Commission to have some role, and that some of that could be sort of, rather than saying like, oh, this is a parcel that we would like to buy for conservation, that sort of set some goals of like, these are the conservation goals that the Conservation Commission sees, and that could be communicated to the Planning Commission or to the Select Board as sort of as a way of saying like, you know, if there were opportunities for land acquisition with the Conservation Fund, these would be the types of landscapes, parcels, forest habitat that the Conservation Commission sees as sort of important for the town. So that's what we've been working on, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat.
I think that your committee is the committee that I know the least amount about,
Yeah.
and we hear the least from. So I probably should spend some time and visit in a meeting.
I was going to ask who's on it besides you.
Yeah. So Carol Hardin is also on. She is was the chair for a year before I was on. Amy Sheldon, and so brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise and strong feelings. Chris Brooks is an environmental lawyer at UVM. He teaches at UVM in both, I think, the law school and the conservation school, or conservation or whatever, Rubenstein. And then Ellen Cochran?
Yeah, we just put them up there for you.
Oh, there she is. Yep. Ellen Cronin is a wonderful new member who very involved with trails, and is the sort of steward for a section of the Long Trail, and so brings a lot of expertise about recreation. And then Eric Moody is teaches at the college. He's a aquatic ecologist, so he's brought some of the interest in water. And then Charlotte Tate as well.
Okay.
How often do you meet?
We meet monthly, and so right now we're meeting on Wednesdays, the third Wednesday This is actually at 2:00, so we have a slight change.
We'll update that for you.
Just this one semester because of teaching schedules. So but we usually do this Monday at 2 p.m. But we changed it. So love to have you join if that works for your schedule. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Third Wednesday of the month. Monthly, yeah.
And do you work with Malt?
Yep, that was another thing I guess I forgot to add that Malt came to our meeting about especially the new trail that they talked about, and so we gave them some feedback on the design of the trail, some of the budget of how much we thought that would cost, some like issues with the current trail, and they looked at a map of the where that new trail would go and gave some feedback about that, and then generally. Chris Brooks is also on the Malt board, and so we have some nice connections back, so informally.
Anybody ask questions?
No.
Maybe like if you could share kind of where you get your regional or state level or even national best practice resources for conservation for anyone on the board who wants to learn more about conservation or viewers.
We have Andrew LaRoe was on the board for a number of years, and so we still have a connection with Andrew, and so we have, I think the Addison County Regional Planning is very helpful in terms of resources around planning and conservation and mapping. Then there is a Vermont Conservation Commissions Association, and we're a member of that, and they have a very 200-page manual on municipal conservation commission that has a lot of best practices around conservation and the role conservation commissions can play. And then some of it comes, Carol is also a retired geologist, and Eric's an aquatic ecologist, and some of it comes vocationally, and Ellen from her experience, and then obviously Amy Moody or Amy Sheldon. Yeah.
I would add that Jeff Howarth was on the Conservation Commission for a number of years, and he did a lot of detailed mapping. He's on the Planning Commission now, and the things that we're required to map, wildlife corridors and forest blocks, will be a new component in the town plan. Jeff has got some very detailed information about that. I would just comment, I've attended a couple of the Conservation Commission meetings. When they started talking about the Land Conservation Fund, I was involved in that establishment of that in 1984, and the town vote for it. It's a reserve fund, and it was very expressly adopted in the town vote that that's to be for land conservation. It's not just a recreation fund skate parks and trail building and so forth. It is, however, for land acquisition or conservation easements acquisition, and it has a good balance in it. In large part, thanks to the Battelle Trust and our arrangements with them. So the town owns the land, and Battelle Trust has the care and custody of Chipman Hill, and so the rents from the radio tower, Chipman Hill radio tower, come through the town's accounting. We have a cycling of that, but the arrangement with the probate court that manages the Battelle Trust is that each year there's an amount that is transferred to the town. So even while the Battelle Trust has its own reserve of money to manage their properties, the excess amount that comes back that through the probate court's thing amounts to $90,000 or so a year.
Yeah, we just received a letter this week. I think it was $83,500.
Anyway, this has helped to build the fund, and there are some important things. The town, in a search for its next well site to supplement our main well, well 2. I call it the search for well number 5, because we have 3 and 4. That may involve, and I should mention, that's an engineering and hydrogeologist review now with Emily managing that. And when we identify that, we may need to acquire and protect the wellhead protection area immediately surrounding that. So that's one of the important things we're saving some of that money for. Other things come up as a matter of opportunity, typically when properties change hands. And my experience with being on the boards of various land trusts, the Vermont Land Trust, Lake Champlain Trust, is that the things that you might be ideal to preserve never come up for sale or for opportunity. This in order with what your top priorities are, and so anyway, the disbursements from the fund do come to the select board, and when that happens, the board will need to have information. And the Conservation Commission is an important piece of this, but they're not the only organization that might bring such a proposal for us. You mentioned MALT, and there are other conservation organizations in town that might, or the Vermont Land Trust or others that might bring a proposal forward for use of the funds. And so the select board is going to be looking for advice. Is this, the right time, and how much should we expend? How much should we save? And typically those acquisition issues come in executive session because the towns would be negotiating for what position it should take and what offers it should make, and that land negotiations happen that way. So we haven't done any of these recently that I can think of, and we have some new members on the board, so when it comes, the process for that needed some of this background information. So I wrote up a paper on this and shared it with Mark and David and the MALT and with the Conservation Committee on how this was developed and what it had been spent for, and what I just outlined. So I think the Conservation Committee is doing good work, particularly its function on education. Public education really complements the other part. MALT is more focused on trail management. They manage the trail around Middlebury and Wright Park, and the Otter Creek Park. And I think they complement each other. So
I'm glad you came, but I'm just wondering. I'm like Dan. The least I know is about the Conservation Commission. But how's the relationship between the town and the commission? What kind of oversight do we have on the relationship? I've been on the select board almost 9 years, and I haven't had a lot of interaction with the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's a question that we've had too, and so sometimes we've been asked to write a letter of support for a grant, and we came through our liaison, and it sounded like that was probably something not for us to do, and so I think there's been times when we've sort of questioned like how much are we advising. Mostly the planning commission is how we've read the charge, is that we're advising the planning commission versus doing activities on our own, but with the town's seal of approval that we haven't asked for. So I think when we bump up against things like that, we ask David, and so that we can not overstep our bounds.
So since the reorganization and the new management, David has been attending the meetings and providing staff support to them. Now with the advent of our new planner, Alicia, there'll be even more support available. So there was a period where there wasn't as much of a connection in the prior times, but I see that as improving.
So David, are you the assigned staff member?
Yep, and I think Alicia's also going to be involved. I think this is true of all the committees. You remember we did that sort of effort maybe 6 months ago, 9 months, whatever that was, to try to create a little more connectivity, especially with committees. Emily's always at infrastructure, right? And Jason's always going to be at public safety. But then we have another group that really, I think, they needed some more connectivity, to be fair to them, and also, it works both ways. I think these types of presentations helps them get direction from you to the extent you want to give
I
it.
think it's very important to have a face that the people can see you, so we know the important work you're doing. A lot of times there are people who are doing something in the background and nobody knows who they are until you came up to us. So it's very important. So I hope we keep this relationship going.
Most recently, they did comment constructively on the solar project, on the important wildlife habitat areas and areas to be preserved as part of that. And then that supported the Planning Commission's hearing on it. And so that's their most recent public involvement, I think.
Yeah, we read the planning commission minutes, and so when we see something that thinks we could talk, and we go to their meetings. And,
So
Thank you so much.
yeah.
the fiscal 27 contribution from the Patel Trust is $83,250.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And so we'll include that as part of our fiscal 27 budget. It's up about $1,500, I believe, from last year. But more importantly here, with this transfer, the total amount transferred to the town since 2009 is $1,281,608.
Say that one again?
$1,281,608. So it's a
Buy some
significant
land on
amount of
that.
money.
We have.
I know. We've had purchases since I've been on the board. So,
Okay, board member concerns.
I've got none. Thank you.
Megan,
an appropriate time to freeze. Even better.
we can circle back to her. Fred?
What's the status? I mentioned the solar project. What is the status of that? They were going to do some surveying or flagging of the right of way and come back to the select board about that. Where is that now?
We're in the process of negotiating an MOA with them, which would include a requirement that they flag that alteration. But we haven't brought that forward to you yet. So
Okay.
it's coming. I've been working with Ben and John, making some edits to that document, and it's coming your way soon. And then I would assume after we navigate the MOA and the right-of-way alteration request, they'll file a formal petition to proceed. But they have not done that yet at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, I have two, and I've just thought about this one. Fred, I would think it would be appropriate that any document you prepare for the staff and any topic should come to us, because I feel relatively unarmed when you produce something, and it's obviously beneficial.
Okay.
They're not going through the select board, which is different than the way some of us operate. But I think anything you produce should come to us, so we can keep up to speed too, instead of you being the keeper of the knowledge.
Okay.
I mean, so a lot of stuff you say is good stuff, but we're completely unarmed.
Okay. Well, I was, for my part, when working with the staff on this, when I provide them something, I trust that they will share that when it's appropriate or needed to support.
Well, I think
but-
with you doing that, I think you should provide it
Okay.
to us.
All right.
So
Sure.
like I appreciate your email this morning. So I had a shot at that. The other thing I want to do is and primary bringing this up for a little bit of sense of guilt. But this weekend, the Otter Creek Child Center is having an opening ceremony at I think at 10 o'clock, and I can't be there. I've got another board meeting out of town. But that we've been watching this develop for 3 years. This is huge for this community, and it's a great event in a town, college, another cooperative program. So I just want to bring that up.
Okay, Megan came back on. Maybe maybe not.
Megan, you're at your parents' house, they need to get better internet service at your house.
Time to update that
Ask
dial-up.
Andy, he can give you all kinds of options.
So maybe not, okay. All right, you took away my comment about the Otter Creek Church.
I'm sorry.
So,
You should share your notes too.
I won't be able to go because I have to work, but they actually, the director, she stopped by at the store, she said, "I'm coming." And I said, unfortunately, I can't make it, but it's a big event.
It is. She didn't stop by my house, so I
And if you want it, anyways.
caught that one on my own, actually.
All right, so there is no executive session. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Oh, I never second anything. I never second anything. So
Oh my
Second,
gosh.
all in favor?
I.
Bye.